Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is me, CyberWarrior. This is CyberWarriorStudios, and you're watching Security Happy Hour. Now, this is a very special episode. It's near and dear to me because it's all about transitioning veterans, getting them into cybersecurity, or even in general, just transitioning out of the military and how they can best go about things. I have with me today Tyrone Wilson, which if you're in the cybersecurity community and don't know about him, you're missing out. Go look up Cover 6 Solutions and a multitude of things to figure out who he is. He's been on this show before. I've got episodes with him. So great person to know, a mentor of mine who we connected as I was getting out of the Army. So I'm very happy to have him back on here. Eric Balardo, Cyber Papa, he's here today once again joining us. So it's awesome to have him here. And then I got 3 new people that have never been on this show. And of course, all veterans, because today's all about veterans. So we got Gregory Thomas, Samuel, and I can't pronounce your last name without butchering it, so I'm not going to. And then Kevin Bigelow. Being that we have everybody here, I do, even though this isn't the same format as usual, I still want everybody to kind of get a backstory of, if you're in the military, what you're doing now to work towards transition. And if you're out of the military, what was your job and how was your experience transitioning out? If you got straight into cybersecurity or if it's something that you did later, just because I know everybody has a different feel, right? Whether we're an 11 Bravo in the Army or, the Marine Corps, you're always a Marine and they don't care about your job, or you're in the chair force, like I was for a short time, and that's all they care about is your job. So you actually get the hands-on experience, but you may not have been in IT or cyber. So starting with Kevin, why don't you give us a rundown, kind of what branch you're in, what your current job is, and how you're looking, if you're running into any issues transitioning out as you're coming to the end of your military term.
Okay. Right now, I'm currently active duty in the Marine Corps, stationed in Las Vegas. I'm actually in HR, so I'm in 0111 in the Marine Corps. So I deal with the admin, the pay, and all that good stuff. And I'm transitioning out. I want to say I have about 5 months left till I retire. And throughout that time, as far as like the resources I've used, Onward Opportunity, Forward Block, Breakline, Shift. I've tried to use every resource possible to make this a smooth transition. And I've also tried to get certifications and degrees that would set me up in a better position for when it's time for me to actually transition. I'm actually also in I want to say the corporate fellowship through Hire Our Heroes. I'm going through I want to say the interview process this week and the next 2 or 3 weeks also. So I'm going through that as well. It's been a ride. I started my transition at about 24 months out. So I got a little bit of a head start. And I'm just here to pass information and help any veterans I can help, or soon to be veterans as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you started out longer than a lot of other people do. Even when I was retiring out, I think I only had maybe 6 months to a year, if that. And that's because I was going through med board. So if you're coming to an actual retirement date or ETS date, they make it a little bit easier for you. And welcome Davin, who is joining us from Lord knows where. He hasn't told me, but he is definitely not anywhere near where we all are. So thank you, Davin, for joining us. And again, this is all about veterans, so of course having Davin here, we couldn't go without.
No,
But
can you hear me?
yeah, we got you, Davin, loud and clear, brother.
Oh, no, what's up, man? I'm off the grid a little bit.
And you're
Took
breaking
a
up,
quick
Davin.
break, but I had. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh yeah, no, I said yeah, I'm off the
This is what happens when you go off the grid. Your cell phone service doesn't work really well.
Thanks for letting me on.
Yeah, man. Hey, the more you walk around, it breaks up in and out, just so you're aware. But yeah, so thanks for joining us, Davin. And we're just going through some of the people that have never been on the show before. So next, Sam, why don't you give us a rundown of what's going on, kind of where you're at in your career, your transition. If you're already out, what all's going on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks again for having me on. I'm always down to help out fellow vets or those about to become vets. I've been out of the Air Force for about a year now. I did cybersecurity on the inside, so I was a 1 Bravo 4. I worked at what's called the AFCERT, or the 33rd Network Warfare Squadron, basically the SOC of the Air Force. And once I transitioned out, I transitioned kind of into an offensive role, and been doing that ever since at 2 different companies now, but more on the offensive red teaming side. It was a long process to actually make it out. I only stayed in for about 7 or 8 years. Did all my certs and got my degree while I was in. Wanted to knock everything out before I left all those free resources behind, and so that's where I'm at today.
Yeah, so it's probably a little bit easier for you to get out and transition right into the civilian sector as far as careers go, just because you have that background in the Air Force, which, I mean, even myself coming out of the Army as a cybersecurity person, it was a lot harder on us just because of the way the Army does things. With the certifications, you have to be able to word your experience in such a way that it makes sense. And we will talk about that here in a little bit. Greg, moving on to you, man. Where are you at as far as getting out or doing what you're doing and things of that nature?
Right now I do contracting. I kept my clearance and everything. Before I got out, I was a 25 Charlie. Basically, they made us, we pretty much did everything. We did satellites, radios, computers, everything. And one of the lieutenants, he pretty much got us, he worded it to where we could take Security Plus. So I was able to get that before I got out. And that landed me my first help desk job. I did that for like a year and a half. Then now I'm currently doing system administration. And I actually took Tyrone's course. That's kind of got me interested in security and everything. Learned a lot about that. And right now I'm just grinding, trying to learn more.
Yeah, definitely. And as Ty, Davin, Eric, myself, Sam, I mean, it's what it's about in security is you're always learning, trying to learn something new, keep growing in the field. And yeah, even knowing some of your background and what you've been doing with what you sent over, the fact that as a 25 Romeo, which is what I was in the Army, anybody who's been in the Army knows that apparently my printer's messed up. That's awesome. Apparently, if you're, in the Army, if you're 25, they just think you are
everything,
whatever. you could be a Bravo and be a help desk, technician or a sysadmin. They're like, oh, you fix radios because you're Signal. No, that's not really how it works. But depending on the unit you're at in the Army, they feel like you should know those things. So I definitely know your pain. The 25 Romeos were considered a jack of all trades because they did teach us everything: electrical engineering, broadcast engineering, computer repair, all that stuff. So yeah, definitely I know that pain. But seeing you as a sysadmin coming up, I don't know which course did you do for Ty?
That was the Precision 6.
Okay,
that was his most recent one.
All right, so it wasn't any of the ones where I got to teach buffer overflows, because those ones are always fun, especially if I've had a few beers, as Tyrone found out the one day, catching me last minute. But saying that, I know Davin's kind of away, and I don't know how long we're going to have him. So Davin, as far as your career went, what were you in the military, and how did that affect your transition getting out into security?
So the funny thing is, I actually didn't do anything tech related in the military. I was an aircraft mechanic. So I know you guys are talking about 25 Charlie for Army MOS, but for the Air Force, I was a 2A 353B, which was a fighter aircraft mechanic for the F-16s, and then eventually the stealth F-117, stationed in Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. But while I was there, I met a couple people who, were in the tech field, and always thought it would be real interesting to get into. And then, of course, you get out of the military, and surprise, surprise, there aren't any fighter jets that you can maintain in the civilian world. So, you know, I tried my hand at a bunch of different things. And then a few years after I got out, I realized I came to the realization or the discovery that, you know, you could actually get into tech and not have to worry about doing, you know, going the college route and everything. So I started looking at different certifications and basically worked my way up from literally from the A+, and doing help desk stuff like that. So I kind of envy you guys who, you know, who kind of had a good head on your shoulders starting out and did the tech route before you got out. Because let me tell you something, it was definitely a journey to get to where I'm at now. But I do still think the experience in the service, you know, teaches you certain things about work ethic and you know, just you know, taking the job seriously and always, you know, performing at your highest, that, you know, definitely translate well into the tech field. So like I said, envy you guys who are smart enough to actually do something. But you know, my idea was I was going to get out and actually work on, you know, work at the airports and get like my FAA certification and all of that. And of course, you know how some of us do get that recruiter trap. I thought I was smart and told the recruiter to put it in writing, but he actually slipped that piece of paper out of my file when I got shipped off to Lackland for basic training. So, but it is what it is, you know. It worked out in the end. So that's pretty much it. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely, because you took the longer path to security, and so but it does show that. And one of the things that I do want to talk about on this episode is just kind of how, even if you're not in IT or security within the military, those skills, those things that you learn, the way discipline and showing up on time and all this stuff is ingrained with you, translates over your training, your leadership, your, you know, especially I know they don't consider NCOs like high-end leadership material in the civilian world, but I think a lot of that just comes down to how you translate those skills. You know, a lot of times we want to sit there and be like, oh, I was a technician that did this. Well, were you responsible for equipment? How much did that equipment cost? So that type of thing, and being able to translate that onto a resume and get that across to civilian employees is extremely important. So moving on from that, Ty, like I said, you and Eric have both been on this show several times, but we never really talked much about the military side of things and how your guys' transition was. So, Ty, when you were in, what was your job and how did that affect you getting out, finding your path in security?
Yeah, sure thing. So I started in 96, but everything is still fresh to me. I actually started as a 31 Charlie, so a radio operator, maintainer, but around 96, 97, 98, 99, that's when all the Windows 95 discs started coming out. And we never used our radios except to convoy to the field. So the commo shop turned into a help desk, and I just kind of transferred those skills to get a help desk job like at a law firm after my first 4 years of active duty. So I'm 22. I didn't think I was going to get the job at all, but come to find out, 4 out of the 5 people that interviewed me were prior military. So they kind of understood a lot of the things that you had just spoke about. My reserve unit, I still needed to do 4 years, was a information operations center, actually the Northeast IOC in Massachusetts, and they didn't issue us weapons. They issued us laptops and, you know, ethereal, and it was like, hey, go learn to watch yourself hack yourself. Come to find out, you needed to have a certain MOS to stay in the unit. So they made us reclass to a 74 Bravo at the time. And then the 74 Bravo school literally sent us to A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, CCNA, all in a matter of months. Then the unit was on rotation to go to Iraq. And the unit's mission was the RCERT SWA. So all of the network intrusions for all of Iraq. And with that, I actually spent time at Lackland, where Samuel was. They sent us to like months and months of training. I think I was like student number 12 for ArcSite training. Um, there was the Remedy ticketing system when it first came out as well. So I kind of know those creators, and it was just fun. I literally was just thrown into the fire. But, you know, coming back after that, I knew I had to do something. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know my worth. So I get it, right? I totally understand it. And it just so happens, I don't want to say I got lucky, but it just so happens that I happened to be really nice to one guy that always worked in the back of the cubicle farm. And it just so happens that he was a hiring manager at JTFG&O, which is now US Cybercom. So I ended up getting, a position working in the fusion cell for JTFG&O. And I ended up becoming a team lead. I loved it. So I worked at all of the highest SOCs, and then even on the weekends at the FBI ESOC. And I just kind of loved it. And I just wanted to try to help as many other people as I can. So that's how the meetup group got started. And I've just been, at it ever since.
Definitely. So you like, some others have had experience, in the military with IT. So it was just about translating what you did. And again, for anybody that's gone through military training, I know some people watching haven't. Understand in the military, when you're taught to write evals and all your writing is all short, sweet, and to the point. So some of that can transfer over to resume writing, but none of it transfers over to reports. When you're talking pen testing or any executive reports, they want, more detail, which is something that we get told to leave out. Make it as concise as possible. Make it to where it's the least amount of lines, and you're like, okay, he did this. It saved this. So, we have to adapt, and that's one of the things that in the military I think some of us don't quite grasp is that ability to adapt and overcome the soft skills portion of things, which is definitely your writing, because we get taught two different forms of writing. Civilian sector is one way, military is definitely another way. Eric, as Cyber Papa and probably the most experienced of the bunch here, what was your experience in the military, and when you got out, how did that affect you getting out? Was it IT and that type of stuff in the military, and you got out doing the same thing, or was it a transition of different jobs?
Well, first you're saying experience when you mean the oldest of the bunch, right? Because that's what you're trying to say. All right. So I joined the military in 1992, 93. And I joined as an intelligence analyst way back when it was called the 96 Bravo. I don't know what it's called now. I think it's 35 something. But I was a 96 Bravo. I was class number 1 at Huachuca, the new barracks there when they started. And from there, I went. So let me back up a little bit. I started basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, lost in the hood, state of misery. And when I was there, my security clearance hadn't completed. So they gave me a secondary MOS before I had my primary MOS. So I was a carpentry and masonry engineer. Okay. So the joke was, after I finished intelligence school, I was the only top secret cleared carpenter and masoner in the Army. Okay. So after I finished intelligence school, I was deployed. First, they said, hey, you're going to California. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to California. Well, I ended up at the National Training Center in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Yeah. 3 hours to Vegas, 3 hours to LA, nothing around. And by that point in time, we did not have a single piece of IT equipment. There were no computers on the desk. So we got the first deck computers deployed to the desk, one per office, if you will. And we were using the old Rainbow Series books. I don't know if anybody remembers the Rainbow Series. This is prior to NIST, prior to any of the security certifications. And we were doing, since I was the only computer geek in the group, I was the one doing all the information system. I had gone prior to the military. I had started my degree in electrical engineering. So I joined the military after doing my degree in E4 Mafia at the time, and I was doing the first, security checks of all the computers. And one of the security checks that we had was you must have a sign that says no smoking or eating near the data processing system. That was a bad check of security. So after that, I finished. I was in NATO for a couple of years. I did Bosnia and Kosovo. And while I was with NATO, they had just started what was called the NC3A, the NATO Command and Control and Automation Center in Netherlands. And so I did a lot of the courses there for security. As a matter of fact, taught some of them in there back in '99, and then went through the Y2K situation in a bunker in Germany. Because, for Y2K, we were afraid that everything was going to blow up at that time. So I was at the NATO Rapid Reaction Corps SOC. Well, we didn't have a SOC at the time, but it was our TOC. And I left shortly thereafter, right before September 11. And when I got out, I met up with a good friend in DC, and he was working for that old company, EDS, Ross Perot's company. And he's like, dude, you got to come work for us. We're building a security center of excellence here in Virginia. And that's where I first kind of started in that route of actually civilian. But I've been doing security since '93, around there. So, but again, it was another veteran that brought me into the field, and I've been doing that ever since. So.
Yeah, and I've noticed that some of these companies, it really takes finding a vet that works as either like a hiring manager or director or something like that for them to really understand what vets bring to the table because they've been through it. And I've seen a lot of videos where they talk about companies that say, oh, we're going to hire this many veterans, and it's more a publicity stunt, right? They want to say they're doing something, but they don't really understand what we go through. Now, that's not to say it's something bad. It's just that it's a different way that we're taught and a different way that we learn and a different mentality that we have when it comes to approaching work. Now, with that, though, we all transition differently. So some of us came from cyber, some of us came from something else. And being that we all came from a different time frame, we're seeing changes in the way soldiers, airmen, Marines, seamen, everything else transition out of the military. They're all putting in these programs to help vets transition. In the Army, they call it SFL TAP, Soldier for Life. I don't know what they call it in the Air Force or any other branches. But what I saw going through it, because a lot of the talk is in general that soldiers aren't taken care of when they get out. They kind of get pushed out and left out on the street and told, hey, go fend for yourself. I think a lot of it comes down to nowadays, and as things have progressed, you get out of it what you put into it, at least in the Army, where if you ask questions for these programs, they take you through LinkedIn and building a network. They take you through resume building. There's a slew of courses that they offer. But the one thing that is really tricky in the cyber field is realizing that now companies are offering training and apprenticeships that were never offered before. So for people transitioning, please reach out. Hiring Heroes, I think, is one of the companies. And there's a few others. I want to say Microsoft and AWS or Amazon both have programs for transitioning vets where when you're getting out, you actually get to train with these companies. And it's something that, someone like Davin or, Eric or Kevin, that we never would have thought of. Kevin, I don't know if you would have even thought of this. I don't know if the Marines offer it, that as far as, getting out and what you can do upon leaving the military. But I see it all the time in my cybersecurity. I'm a member of several Army groups for cybersecurity, and there's so much that it brings to the table when you can get this training. Um, so to go off of that, Greg, when you were getting out, did you know about any training towards Microsoft or anything like that?
I know about Microsoft, but you have to be like 6 months within your window of getting out to do that one. So I found out about that one too late. Um, Honestly, most of the programs I found out about was after I was past that window, but I already had Security Plus and I had my TSSCI. So that made it pretty easy for me to get my first job getting out.
Yeah, that clearance is huge if you want to stay in the government sector, or at least if you want to stay in long enough to get your feet wet and be able to work other positions. Me personally, I let my clearance lapse. I didn't care when I got out. I was like, I'm never working for the government again, so screw it. I don't want to have to worry about who my last 50 people were that I lived with when I was at Fort Riley, Kansas. I really didn't want to have to be concerned with that. But Ty, you got out not too. It's been a little while, but I mean, you did one stint. What was it like when you got out? Was there a transitioning program for you, or was that something that they were just developing, or what?
I think they called it ACAP at the time. So my first ACAP session was back in '99, and I was in Korea.
How to write a resume.
Yes, it was just that. It was just that. They would maybe gather up all of the college credits you may have gotten, and that was really about it. Maybe they talked to you about how to do an interview, maybe, but it was just a bunch of ACAP appointments. It was mostly a bunch of medical stuff, really. So, at the time, you kind of like had to figure out what you were good at on your own. So in my mind, I was like, we're doing help desk stuff almost every single day, right? And I just remember one of the questions that they asked me because it was a supervisor role. And Eric had mentioned E4 Mafia earlier. They were like, have you ever been in charge of people? And I was like, I've been an E4. In charge of all these other PFCs and privates in my section. So very confidently, I said yes. And, that ended up helping me out. But then, the second transition, I guess, was after a deployment. And, I was cleared, I was working, in the mini jock in Baghdad. So, I kind of had that experience. And even before I got deployed, I was at JTF for a while and the first IO command for a while. So that helped. And sometimes, even if you're a reservist, like the unit, especially first IO at the time, having that unit as a bullet on your resume really, really helped. So even if you weren't really doing much there, but fortunately for me, like we were doing so much. So that's one of the things that really helped.
Yeah, definitely. Sam, what was it like getting out of the Air Force? Do they have a program? Is it newer? Like, I don't know if you're still ingrained with, how they're doing things now, but what are the transition programs like getting out of the Air Force? Because that's something I didn't experience in my time in.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward nowadays. And yeah, I'm still kind of connected. I got a bunch of friends still in the Air Force getting out over the next few years. But when I got out over a year ago, they had DoD TAP is what they call it, Transitioning Airman Program, I think is what it's called. But it's like a week or two long thing where they take you through, resume writing, just as you guys said. Here's some job boards you could look at. Here's some benefits you could take advantage of. But honestly, like my advice to people is if they're planning on getting out and they know it way in advance, start looking at that stuff way before you get to DoD TAP. Because a lot of the people you're going to be in that room with, they're not really prepared to get out, right? They just, their time has come up. They're unsure. But if you even think you're getting out in a year or 2 years, start planning now. Put together a game plan, because that's really what's going to help make the transition process smooth. And nowadays, I think they have it for all branches. It's called Skill Bridge, DoD Skill Bridge. I believe Greg talked about it. Up to 6 months from your time getting out, you can go intern at a company or do some training that's paid for. I really encourage, like on the Air Force, it was the Education Center, who is kind of your connection to that. I'm not sure about the other branches, but reach out to them because, you know, Amazon, Microsoft, all these massive companies and DoD contractors, of course, they want to like recruit people that they may end up using on a contract, right? And it just makes sense to kind of, if you already know that environment, then you can easily transition into it. So yeah, there are a lot of programs available. I encourage you to start, you know, open up Google and look up DoD Skill Bridge, because that's going to be one of the best steps you can take. Especially if you're coming from a non-technical or security background, right? That'll get your foot in the door somewhere and get you some training. But if you are coming from a security background, like myself, it would have been a good idea to do that as well, because it would have got my foot in the door somewhere to kind of help jumpstart my career.
Yeah, definitely. So, Davin, I know you got to roll out. You got a lot going on vacation and what you're doing now. But before you go, what was your transition like, and what advice do you have for veterans that are transitioning right now?
So I don't know if you guys can hear me, but to pick up from what Samuel said, yeah, it was basically the same TAP program, like transitioning airmen or transitioning assistants or whatever it was called. But I was, like I said, I was in a unique situation because I got out due to force reshaping. So in around about 04, 05, they had so many people over the limit that they were just allowing people to kind of, leave early. So I left about 2 years out of 2 years left. Sorry. Yeah, it seems it was like 2 years left in my six. I left, and then hold on, my family is kind of.
See, there you go, moving again. You know you're going to start cutting out there, Davin.
No. I was moving. I was getting rid of the background noise. So yeah. Like I said, so I got out on the force reshaping program. So it was really fast paced. I think my TAP appointments, I think I had maybe 1 or 2, and they weren't even that long. And it was just like, okay, when you get out, this is what this is what you can possibly do when you get out. And then when you get out, there weren't really anybody there to assist you. So my advice would be similar to what Samuel said, as if you know you're going to be discharging, start researching and getting in contact with wherever you're going to be when you get out, when you discharge, or whether you're going back home or whatever, get in contact with, your local VA. I know the VA gets a bad rap, but, there are some people there who are there to help. Also, if there's any type of assistance that you're available to because of any disabilities or anything that you gained while you were in the VA, look to see if you qualify for anything for that, because a lot of that will help you get the certifications or get the education similar to a GI Bill. Please utilize your GI Bill. These certifications don't come cheap, especially when you're just getting out. And we all know that, a lot of veterans who come out don't really get the proper treatment that they're looking for, and it's hard for them to transition and hard for them to find jobs. So sometimes there's a good 3 to 5 months where you might not get anything. So, utilize that time to get that assistance. See if you're qualified for any vocational rehabilitation is what they call it. Voc rehab. And like I said, in order to do it, you have to have some type of disability rating. See if you're qualified for a disability rating. See if you qualify for Voc rehab. Utilize your GI Bill. Same thing I tell my mentees, Google's your friend, YouTube is your friend. Look, if you want to get into tech, it's there waiting for you. And there's a lot of free resources you can get out there. And for my vets, call the VA, let someone help you. They're very ever since, more and more vets have made, made noise about the fact that, we get out and don't really get a lot of help. Now they're trying to make an effort. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but it's definitely better than what I heard when my brother got out in 97. And it's certainly better than when I got out in like 0405. So, utilize these resources and use them to your benefits. Sometimes people look at it like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to see if I can get disability or voc rehab because, maybe I didn't get hurt like, someone who served during wartime or served or was deployed overseas. Listen, if you served and you came out differently than you went in, you're eligible just like everybody else. Don't fall for the okey doke. Utilize those benefits. You earn them, get them, and do what you gotta do. And with that, my brothers, I salute all of you. My brothers in arms. Ty, you already know what it is. Cyber Warrior, you know what it is. Eric, big fan. Kevin, I don't think we linked up personally, but I hope to one day. And the other two gentlemen, Samuel and Greg, we'll link up. We'll link up on social media or whatever it is. Hopefully we'll get together one day and have a drink and talk this stuff over in detail. But I'm gonna get back to the family. Also, to my vets, when you get out, especially if you had a stressful time, take that time off to yourself. You earned it.
Yeah.
You earned it. Get your mind right. Take a breath. You earned it. You deserve it. And don't let anybody tell you that you can or can't do anything because of who or what you are. With that, y'all be safe out there. I love all y'all. Everybody. Derek, we'll talk.
Yeah, I love you, man. Take care.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Yep. Yeah, definitely, man. Like Davin said a lot, and he said a lot of truth. So before we get to Eric and Kevin and the transitioning that they went through, or while Kevin is going through, look, I'll be the first one to tell you. When I got into the Army, I had knee surgery, but my back was fine, my neck was fine. I deployed once as a 25 Delta cyber network defender, and I sat behind a desk. But because of my time in the Army, because of going to the field, wearing an IOTB, doing ruck marches and everything else, no, I did not see live fire. I do not have PTSD like a lot of other soldiers do, and a lot of Marines do, and other military members. But my back has 4 bulging discs. My neck has 2 degenerating discs. I've got 2 jacked up shoulders. Things that I never would have got had I just worked a desk job in the civilian sector. So yes, whether or not you deployed, if you have problems, claim that shit at the VA. Before you get out, go talk to someone at the VA. Because like Davin said, Voc Rehab is your friend. The computer I am on right now is because of Voc Rehab. Everything you do, you can do through Voc Rehab and get certifications, get your education, and you use that GI Bill. So, if you're looking to get out, do not be ashamed. And for any military member out there, any veteran that wants to tell you you didn't see live fire, you didn't go over the wire, you don't deserve it, this, that, and the third, because yes, we hear that shit, especially in the Army. It's ridiculous. You served, you went to the field, you carried the same bullshit, you dealt with the same bullshit. The only thing you did not do is honestly see shit that nobody ever wants to see. Unless you enjoy killing people and blowing shit up, then I don't know, maybe it's your bag. But for me, it wasn't. I've always been an IT guy. That's who I am. That's what I love. But I know when I got in the Army and when I got out of the Army, I'm 2 different people, and I could barely take care of my kids some days. So yeah, it affects me. So don't be ashamed to go to the VA and get your rating and go to Voc Rehab and everything else. Eric, let's move on to you, and then we'll hit Kevin. Your transition, what was it like? I mean, we talked to Davin. His transition was, and Ty's transition was definitely different than what I went through, and what a lot of other people go through. But, I'm assuming yours is probably roughly the same, of where you maybe get resume writing and that's about it. So when you were getting out, what was it like, and how did that affect you getting into the civilian sector?
Well, 2 things. So Ty, what time you got out 99 at the end, right?
99 from Korea.
Okay. So I got out March 2000. Okay, so a couple months after you. The good part was I outprocessed at in Fort Meade. So that was NSA country. So it was at that point in time, cyber was everybody. You know, we weren't called cyber at the time. It was InfoSec people. So um, at that point in time, like Tyrone said, it was all ACAP. So the army just had a process where the transition was resume writing, some interview skills. They helped you send your resumes to other companies, but that was it. I mean, some med stuff that we did and some finance stuff. So that changed completely the last, probably 10 years or so for some of you guys. But when we got out, when Tyrone and I got out, it was literally, here's your stuff, here's your civilian clothes, have fun. And it was all up on us. So at that point in time, the whole situation with who do you know and who can help you, and do you have a friend, or do you have a meetup, or do you have a team that you can lean on, of this veteran community, was incredibly important. And so I lived in the suburbs of DC and Montgomery County. So I got a lot of friends in that area, a lot of people that were doing, and I just did those veteran hiring fairs that we had, and you literally had to, you would see it on the paper, and you'd go to like a hotel in the area, and you'd go in your suit and with your resume, and you'd say, hey, I just got out. And that's when I saw a friend of mine who was in one of my platoons, and that's how I got my first real job in IT, working in the at EDS there in Chantilly, Virginia. And so, but you guys said something very important, is this whole thing about, when we're all veterans, and it doesn't matter. We always joke about your Air Force or your Marine, or you eat crayons, or all that good stuff. Yeah, short buzzer. Okay, so we joke, but you heard one of us. We all support each other. And one of the things that's happening currently in the cyber world is this whole community of veterans. We support each other. You're a veteran. I know where you've come from. I know what you've had. And even people like us, CND or red teamers or anything like that, some of us have gone over the wire. Hey, dudes, I got shot right here. When I was in Kosovo, when I was in Bosnia, Sniper Alley. I was moving a computer from one side to the other, and guess what? I got scraped. Sniper. So yeah, PTSD is real. And yeah, for me, it's been many years, but and I'm, pretty mentally okay. Well, some people don't say that, but that's okay.
Let's be honest, Eric. You are not okay. You're a little deranged,
Yeah,
but we
it's
love
okay.
you.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay not to be okay. Yeah, that's right. So, but
No, we are
long
not
story
alone.
short is we're all in the same boat. We need to help each other. Transition for us was a little rough, but having the veteran community to help you is very important. And those meetups, those groups online, those groups on Facebook, our Twitter community of the cyber people, stay together. I mean, we are together, we're stronger. And I think that's very important, not only in training, but in operations. I know that there's 100 times that I've said, guys, I'm working on a case over here, or there's, print nightmare just happened, this last week. And I was sending Twitter messages to a bunch of people saying, hey, how are you guys handling this? How are you guys handling it? And it was a lot of the veteran community. So So it's very important to do that. So from transition to operations, it's very important to stay together and to share what we know as veterans, because the lessons we learned on management, on just the day-to-day operations of what we do, be able to share that with the younger generation that is coming in is super important.
Yeah, definitely. And you talk about staying together as veterans, and I got to be honest, anybody that follows me on Twitter has seen a lot of the pain that I've gone through the last week and a half helping a friend of mine out. And let's be honest, it took for me to get in touch with veterans to be able to get it handled that work within certain organizations. And without that connection, without that bond of being a veteran, it probably never would have gotten handled. So yes, this is a brotherhood and a sisterhood. This is a family that, come hell or high water, we look out for each other. Kevin, you're getting out. You said you started about 2 years out. So the programs for you have definitely gotten longer, or at least what you're taking advantage of has gotten a lot better than what a lot of others have gone through. So being a Marine, how is your program, how has it been different than what we're all have gone through? And what are you doing now to take advantage of that program as you're getting out?
As far as the Marine piece, it was more or less just TRS, which is Transition Readiness Seminar. It wasn't really detailed because I still fall under the COVID guidelines, so it was virtual. So, at the end of the day, it's a Zoom call, and next thing you know, I could be sitting there learning about something, and then I'll get a notification, and then I'm not learning about something again. So just that alone wasn't enough. So lucky for me, I was able to start at 24 months out. So I was able to get on LinkedIn, actually start connecting with people, asking questions, talking to everybody from that have transitioned, and asking them what do they wish they would have been able to do prior to transitioning. Like, oh man, I wish I would have got Tech Plus before I got out. Like, all right, good to go. I wish I would have been able to get CEH or get my degree. All right, good to go. All right. And then doing that, it helped prepare me for my transition. So I've been able to do, I'm starting Onward Opportunity next week. I'm currently in the Corporate Fellowship Skill Bridge program right now. I've done the break line, preparing for a resume writing and interviews program as well. I've done 4-block. I've done Shift. I think was about 4 weeks of resume writing and stuff like that. I've tried to sign up for everything. And then hold yourself accountable to learn something from everything. So some of the seminars or programs I've been to that I didn't really learn a lot from, but I still learned something from it. And then I also took into the consideration that you always have time. You just have to make time for your transition. So every time I have 30 minutes of terrible time at work, I put an hour towards my transition. So that way I'm constantly working towards making my transition successful. As of right now, I can't really say whether it's working or not because I still have another 5 months left. So I can't say this is the perfect plan or stamp this approved and put it in the bag and ship it out to McDonald's or something like that. But more or less, all I can say is do everything you can. So that way, at the end of the day, you can't say, man, I wish I would have been able to do that. Or man, I wish I did some more. I would have went to another medical appointment. I do everything. I find ways to do everything. It is your transition. You have to take charge of it. The same amount of effort you put into getting promoted, put that into your transition. You're about to get promoted to being a civilian. Do everything you can to make it successful. Just look at it that way. You take your pictures, you make sure your uniform is all nice and pressed. So when you go on the board and everything looks good and nice and everything, do the same thing for your transition to being a civilian. Same exact thing. That's all I got.
Well, and don't forget, Kevin, that there's a lot of free resources that are out there that are going to help you a lot. do not ever discard all the knowledge that you can gather from YouTube and from Greg over there petting his dog. Okay, so don't forget about that. Okay, but no, use all the resources. There are, I tell people you can learn to be a cybersecurity expert with just YouTube and experience and trying and doing it yourself and reaching out to the community and taking other courses that are out there, Udemy and all those other, cheap course places that are out there. There are a lot of resources that I tell all the vets that are coming out is, look, don't just put your blinders and say A+, Sec+, Pentest Plus, or GAC, SANS, or no. There's a lot of stuff that you can learn out there.
There definitely is. And in the last episode, I talked about a lot of the alternatives to like CEH. And let's be honest, a lot of vets that are coming out, whether they were in the IT field or not, they hear 8570, I think it is, or 8140, whatever they changed the numbering scheme to. And they look at those certifications like, oh, this is what I need to get. But let's be honest. Those are only for government entities. In the civilian sector, they look at so many other certifications. The CompTIA Pentest Plus is probably a great starting point for anybody that wants to get into ethical hacking and penetration testing. I would still recommend a Security Plus even before that. And it has nothing to do with regulation or policy, procedure, or anything like that. It has everything to do with, if you can study the Sec Plus on your own by going and buying a book and gaining the knowledge behind it. And that's what it comes down to, is understanding those foundational concepts. So if you're getting out of the military, I don't care if you're an IT and cyber now, or if you're an infantryman, or if you're, an aircraft mechanic, or whatever the case may be. If you want to get into this stuff, you can buy the books and at least study the foundations and get those foundational certifications. And for CompTIA, yeah, I think it's like $300 now for a CompTIA cert. It's relatively inexpensive in comparison to a lot of the other more advanced certs out there. But it's worth, anything worth having is worth fighting for, and it's worth, saving up for. So if your life, your career depends on these things, save up to $300 and go do it. Study it. I think the books are like $50. Go to Barnes and Noble, go online, go to Amazon, find them resale for $20. Go buy one of the books, study it, and get your certification. And that's only to set you up for your career, because you have to invest in yourself. And as being in the military, as veterans, when you start as a private, and if you only do like 4 years and get out, sometimes you don't make it to that NCO rank. So you're always, you get used to taking orders the whole time. But you have to take charge of your own career. You have to take charge of your life. And if you're getting out, you haven't really had to take charge of your life at all. The military gave you clothing. They gave you food. All this other stuff, especially in your first term enlistment when you're living in a barracks. Unless you got in when you were married and then you had a little bit more control over your life. But if you were a single military member, then the military controls your life. They control, everything you do. So that first taste of freedom, you need to start taking control of your life now. If you're a year out, 2 years out. And one of the big things I preach to a lot of people, whether you're in the military or not, is your network. Network is what helped me do some things this past week and a half. Build that network. Network helped me get one of my first, amazing security jobs as a senior security engineer, was talking to people on LinkedIn. So even though LinkedIn can be kind of up and down in what you see in your feed, that network, those people that you talk to, can really help elevate your career and get you into those jobs that you really want. Hell, I would have worked for Ty if he had a job for me, because I talked to him from 2017. So, it's one of those things where if the jobs are there and the people have them for you to at least apply, no, it's not a guarantee, but it gets you through any barriers that may be in your way to get that interview. So your network is definitely huge. So start now. Build your LinkedIn profile. Build your Twitter. Build your Facebook. Get into these groups, whether it be in the Army, it was 25 Delta. In the Air Force, it was a 3 Delta. You know, all these different groups and organizations have these capabilities to really build your network and your scope. And I think that's something that we lose track of. And I think as a group, we really need to understand that it's not all about getting that highest GX certification or getting your OSCP or getting a CCIE. Sometimes with the lower level certifications, you can get your foot in the door just by, you know, showing someone you know what you know. And if you worked with someone in the past and they know what you know, then that can really help you get your foot in the door to at least get the interview and talk to some people and make sure you're going to be a fit for their company. So understand that that's a huge, huge thing. And if you're transitioning out, please, I beg of you, connect with myself, Tyrone, Eric, Sam, Kevin, Greg. Connect with us all, because that is Davin. You know, we especially love helping others, and it is something that will help you in the long run. And go outside of the veteran scope. There's a lot of people in the cyber community especially that are more than willing to help you out. Alyssa Miller, I don't know. There's a million of them. I can't even think of them all right now. But get on
Pick
Twitter.
anyone, like they were. Everyone's very helpful.
It's amazing that the network you can build. Don't be afraid of social networking. Yes, it's a bitch. Yes, they do a lot of things that are probably pretty shady and you don't agree with. But at the end of the day, that's the way the world's going right now. So get into these networks and really build it up so that it can help you out. Now, as far as certifications, because we did talk about that, one of the questions I got earlier on LinkedIn before the show started was about the Pen Test Plus. Has anyone here taken the Pen Test Plus or seen it at all?
I took
the first one or the second one?
The first one.
Okay.
In general, I don't think it really matters. Just in general, have either of you? So you took the first one, Sam?
I took it when it was in beta.
Mm-hmm.
What was your thoughts?
It was like, so as far as, I don't know, offensive related certs, it's okay. It's a great intro to that kind of stuff. But as you kind of mentioned, like start with Security Plus, like is as bad as rap as CompTIA can get sometimes. Like just the foundationals is what you need to get started, right? And that kind of pivot you to what you're interested in. But as far as Pen Test Plus, I thought it was an interesting cert for a CompTIA in terms of offensive security type of certifications. But I don't think it's like required. I wouldn't say it's like a big deal when it comes to jobs. That's just my opinion. But it can show that you have that drive to learn more, just like with any other certification you may get.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what I can't say all companies because we know it ain't true, but there's a lot of companies out there that they look for that ability to learn, the willingness to learn and grow. Ty, did you see that? Have you seen the Pen Test Plus? Did you look at it in beta, and what's your take on it?
Yeah, I did take the Pen Test Plus beta, the first one. What I got out of it was you're going to really struggle, like if you really haven't been on pen test engagements, right? Also, it was really like OWASP top 10 heavy, right? So those are the two things that I got out of it. And web apps weren't really my thing at the time, hence why we do OSCP time all together, you and I. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I scheduled myself to take the second one, but I just didn't get to it. I had to cancel.
Yeah, so I mean, OWASP top 10 is crazy. And I think that looking at the certifications, Security Plus is definitely where
seltzer water. I haven't started drinking yet.
Yingling, water. The same thing I drink every episode. I buy a
calorie free too.
So I think certifications are huge.
Eric. Okay. Maybe I need to add some vodka to it. Okay.
Vodka. I got Hold up, Darren
Yeah.
is in chat. Darren's been drinking bourbon since, or not Darren. Who was it? Fomat, maybe. I think Fomat's the one who's been drinking bourbon since like 2:00. Bastard.
We kind of got lucky. So as a 25 Bravo, when I was in, the Army had this thing to where as long as it's job related, they will pay for any any training you wanted. Another way that I got over as well is at all the leadership schools at Fort Gordon, the training house is there. So literally all you had to do was sign up and they would give you any voucher you wanted. But I just ended up taking them out of order. So CCNA, I ended up getting the CCNA security before I even got the CCNA routing and switching. So I can't even claim it because I never took the routing and switching. So
what can I do right now with my Novell NetWare administrator?
Look,
Lotus Notes.
I took look, when I was in the Air Force, I went through and I didn't get any certification at the time. In the Air Force, certifications weren't nothing. Like when I first went through basic and AIT, or it was called tech school for us at that time, the certifications, like it wasn't like the Army where when I went through the Army, and especially the 25 Delta School, certifications were mandatory. You had to pass the cert to get the MOS. When I went through in the Air Force, it was all about training. So the certifications I got on my own when I was going through college and everything else. I was like, well, I want a CCNA, so I went and got a CCNA. I want Microsoft certs, so I went and got all my Microsoft certs. But now I look at it, and the 25 Delta career field especially is very cert heavy in GIAC and SANS. And anybody that gets stationed at Fort Gordon, and I have a contact that I wanted to strangle because she was stationed at Fort Gordon and said, there's nothing to do here. I'm not doing my job. And I'm like, you got the schoolhouse right there.
Yes.
Where we had people show up to take random SANS courses. They weren't in our class. They just showed up because they were like, hey, we got empty seats. You want to come? Yeah. And if you sit there and say there's nothing to do and you're not going to learn, get the hell out. I don't want nothing. I want nothing to do with you. Yeah. Because if you're not constantly learning, it's a problem.
You don't go to Gordon to have fun.
No, you go there to learn. Well, I had fun. Look, I'll be honest. When I went through 25 Delta, I had already had a lot of experience because on my own I studied offensive security and defensive security. I'd been working with Backtrack Linux since Backtrack 2. I was on Kali Linux. I was doing Hack the Box and CTFs. So when I went through, I literally went to class, got done at maybe 5 or 1700, and then I went and drank like a case of beer or two after while everybody else was studying. And so I passed the course, got all my certifications, and got over 90s, and so I couldn't complain. But there are a lot of people that when they went there, they were like, oh, I was a 25 Bravo, I know all this stuff. And then they look at me, hey, how do you know all this?
You guys with your offensive stuff. How about you start talking to Tyrone and I on blue stuff?
Dude, I love
on defense, on we can do SOC stuff.
But here's the thing.
Start.
And Kevin, you'll actually get something from this. Here's the thing when it comes to blue team and any transitioning veteran out there, the blue team benefits from the red team. They do, because in order to know how to defend something, what logs are you looking for when they break in?
Hey,
so you have to be able to break in to be able to see those logs, to be able to see what traffic is generating.
Yeah, that's why we have Splunk, man. Don't worry about you guys.
But that's the thing.
Don't get used to Splunk. Not every company has it.
I tried to implement an IPv6 network at ALC, and everyone got mad at me.
What's IPv6 again?
I don't touch Splunk, man. Like I will if I have to, but I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh, Splunk is the greatest. I don't fuck with Splunk unless I have to.
Well, I'm looking forward to Tyrone's class later on this month, man, because I think.
Which class are you doing later on this month, Ty?
I think we're starting another SOC class on the 27th. It's just
Kevin, that's for you. You need to jump in on that.
The thing is, though, it might be my last class
No,
while.
no. For a
I'm
while?
telling you, man, I'm tired. Yeah.
All right. Well, no, you deserve a break, but
Yeah.
don't be like canceling your classes. Like I look forward to like helping you with those classes.
It's just
I'm shocked I haven't gotten any last minute drunk calls. Well, I'm drunk, you're not.
it's just the training has changed, right? Like the training has changed. I've always wanted my classes to be organic, which is why I really don't promote that much. And all my classes are live. Like I like, knowing that all of my students personally heard from me, right? But it just seems like that's just not the way to go anymore, right? They want, a virtual class where you can get 100 or so videos, and then they take the training on their own whenever they get time to watch a video, right? And it's just, I don't know, it's just not the same for me.
Yeah, things change all the time. And it's crazy and it's hard to keep up with, and that's one of the things when you're doing what you do, Ty, which is try to keep up with current trends. It makes it difficult, but we also see a lot of issues with older curriculums that can't keep up. So saying that, Kevin, I'll get to you in 1 second. Scott, why did I say Scott? Oh, because I was looking at Khalila's message. Sam has to go. So Sam, before you go, what is the best advice you can give to transitioning veterans?
Yeah, so what I give all my friends and all the people I'm mentoring is make a plan, regardless of how far out you are. If you're just starting your enlistment, you got to get out sometime, even if you're doing 20 years. Make a plan. Take advantage of all the free stuff that you have available. GI Bill, certifications, like you're saying, go to the schoolhouse. If they'll let you in a class, get in the class. Network, as Eric and everybody else has mentioned, talk to people, build that network of veterans and of non-veterans, because those are going to be the keys to opening the doors or getting your foot in the door at the place you want to work. So just look after yourself, put in the hours, and you'll end up with a great career. And that's all I got. Thanks for having me, and it was a good chat with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for joining, Sam.
Thanks.
So Kevin, as you're transitioning out, what questions do you have? What can help us? What information can we give you to better prepare you for getting out of the military?
What's funny is I've been asking veterans this question for the last 24 months. So I've already I don't want to say I've gotten all the answers, but the only main questions I've ever had was the VA. Is it really that bad?
Yes. I mean, no, it's not bad. It's not bad. I spent a lot of time at the VA right here in DC. Like I've always been in and out, right? You may not like the quality, right? And if you're a resident or you're staying there, then it might be a lot different than a normal hospital, but I've never really had an issue with the VA. I think you may start transitioning out and there'll be a bunch of people that you'll have to talk to. Like all your medical stuff, like document that stuff now, right? Get your appointments in now because there could be back pay there, right? Go to, what's it called? E-benefits. Make sure you have an account there, right? I do everything through e-benefits, especially since I have to deal with the VA. Like there are tabs that will help you through everything there. That's literally like the only site you need right now.
Yeah,
also
that and va.gov, they're transitioning a lot of your ratings, a lot of the things you're doing over to the va.gov claim site. I know I just increased my rating. So yeah, if you're doing ratings and things like that, va.gov, e-benefits, they're all huge. So what else you got, Ty?
And you don't even have to transition into tech, right? Whatever you want, Folk Rehab will get for you. If you need like an $8,000 violin because you want to be a violinist and start a business, they will get that for you. You know what I mean? So take care of that, the Folk Rehab. And I want to say there's a SBA, the Small Business Administration, in case you're thinking about that as well. Like they want to help you. You don't have to do this alone, right? There's multiple Discord channels. VetSec is a good place. Veterati is a good place. they even have like award shows for veterans now. Like that's how it is. Stuff like that. It's getting.
Yeah, they're doing a huge. They're doing a lot of stuff for vets.
The Vetties, I think it's called.
What is it?
The vetties.
I think it's called the Vetties.
Yeah, I'm not on that. I'm not a vetty. I mean, they keep telling me to like nominate people, and I'm like, I want to nominate myself. Damn it!
I always lose it in the swimsuit competition. I don't know.
Damn
why.
it, Eric! Why? I swear you're sexy in a swimsuit.
But yeah, and another
Beard's
thing,
too
like
long. Your beard's too long.
go to that,
swimsuit competition when your beard's that long.
go to your Ed Center now, right?
Yes.
Right away. Like you can make money by going to school.
Yes, very much so. The post 9/11 GI Bill, and actually they're looking at fixing it to where you can use the Montgomery GI Bill and post 9/11.
Yeah, before you get to the post 9/11, like you can use all the tuition, all the TA stuff. Also, pick a city that has.
Yes.
You know what I'm about to say, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Pick a city that has a high cost of living, because they're going to give you that E5 pay for that cost of living for that city.
When y'all say Voc Rehab, are y'all talking about like, is that like a website or like?
Vocational.
No,
Vocational
vocational
rehab.
rehabilitation. I went through it, and actually I went through it
And
twice.
it didn't work for him.
Oh, bullshit. It got me my computer right now. So basically, if you have a disability rating through the VA, and they will then help you transition to a career field. So I told them, and I still am working on it, to start a business. To do that, I needed a computer, and I needed my CISP so that I can tell organizations that I have a CISP, I know what I'm doing in consulting and this, that, the other. So they paid for me to go to InfoSec Institute and take the online CISP training. They paid for my computer and 2 monitors. And so
This was as a veteran or
through Voc Rehab, because I have a disability rating through Voc Rehab, they paid for all that. So 2 of my monitors right now, my computer, which mind you, when I told them what I needed to be able to do pen testing, which was password cracking and everything else, the people that purchased computers said that's a gaming machine, but so I didn't get what I wanted, but you know, it would have helped a lot if I was doing, you know, password cracking, because I don't game. I literally was going to use it for all the offensive shit, but they said no. So, but it's still a good computer. I put a graphics card in myself and upgraded the RAM to 32 gigs, but you know, they will help you out in those aspects. They'll get you certifications if it's going to help you in your career field. So for people who think I don't need a VA rating, I'm not broken, dude, please go to your medical facility, find out what all you've been seen for, and go claim that shit. If your knee like locks up on you once a month, guess what? I'm claiming my damn knee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shit.
The
So
other thing, Kevin, the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Career and Studies from CISA, okay, has the Fed VTE, the Federal Virtual Training Environment.
I know the people that program that at CMU.
Yep, and if you're a veteran, it's free, 800 training hours, ethical hacking, CISP training.
Don't take
nice
the CEH
framework.
on there. It is dull and boring, and I fell asleep the whole time.
Yeah, but it's something. It's something.
still good. Yeah, it is something. The Fed you're right. The Fed VTE. We used to be on there all the time.
Yeah.
And if you do they still have that that .mil, the main .mil site?
I think so. I just recently used them to review my Security Plus.
Yeah, there's educational stuff there as well.
Yeah.
I was gonna say one more thing,
And I interrupted you.
but I can't. No, it's cool. I can't remember right now.
It's the age.
Oh, no, I was gonna say about that disability, you know, and about claiming it. I have friends that don't claim it because they feel like their deployments weren't hard enough. Even if it's not gonna be for you, right? You may have kids, you may have family, you may have a spouse in the future that could benefit, you know, from that. So that's just something to think about. And then also, you know, your VA benefits for school, if you want to pass those down, to someone else, that's something to think about as well. So at least get them so you have options. You know what I mean?
But use them because you lose them. I lost a big chunk of
Yes.
it when I passed the
Yes.
20 years or something like that.
Yes. And take advantage of the money that they're going to give you for school. So you're not paying out of pocket. It's a lot of money between tuition assistance while you're in, and then the GI Bill once you get out, because the GI Bill is going to start once you get out.
Right
So
there.
use what you can for whatever you want to do.
I stand by that. As veterans, use everything you can. Everything.
Yeah, and the
every
last thing I'm
resource.
going to say is Kevin and Greg, as you get out, Kevin, remember that the city you move into is also critical if you're going to go into cyber. Why? Because there is a concentration of companies that are hiring in different cities in the United States. So right now, the hot spots are in Texas, California, DC area, Philadelphia, New York, the northern corridor there. But those areas right there, Texas right now is hot, okay? People are hiring there. So being closer to those main hub areas for cyber is important. I'm not saying that you can't find a job in Minnesota or some other area of the United States, but that is where the concentration of the companies are, that you can get more jobs available in those areas. So that's something
will
to think
always
about
be
as well.
huge for cyber. You're going to find a lot of contract jobs, a lot of jobs that require clearance. So if you want to keep your clearance, if you want to get into it, DC's huge because of the government contracts they have there. And again, the training is huge. The networking is huge. We've talked about it all as far as transitioning out, what you can do. One of the big things I will say is, and you talked about it, Kevin, we've all talked about it, start early, right? Start as early as you can. If you know you're getting out at the end of your term, your enlistment you're in now, get on LinkedIn, make a profile, build that profile, put every duty station you've gone to and what you did at those duty stations. If you're not on Twitter yet, get on Twitter, join the cybersecurity community there. If you're on Facebook, join the groups for the security MOSs. Join the groups for any cybersecurity initiative. If you're, and I'm gonna put it out there, if you're a minority, blacks in cyber is huge right now. They're a huge organization. They're doing amazing things for those that are struggling to find their foothold in the cyber community. Blacks in cyber is huge right now. If you're a female trying to get into it, TechSec Chicks is another huge one. So regardless of where you're coming from, there are organizations out there, both veteran and non-veteran, that will help you find a position. And that's the big thing, is making sure you know where to go. Eric, I don't know any Latino organizations, so you can't say nothing about that. They just need to connect with you, Eric. All your stuff is down below, so they can't.
Latinx in cyber, man.
All right.
We got Taco Tuesdays,
Yes.
I think they're even having they're having something in Miami right now too, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, my wife is part Mexican. Can I join the community? Actually, I feel like I'm a part of all the communities because I promote them all and put them all
we're
out
an
there.
accepting crowd,
Look, Taco Tuesdays are my shit. Don't take tacos away from me. But look, I love you guys.
I'm Puerto Rican, so we don't do tacos.
And I do. And anybody have any last words before we end the show?
Getting out, start now.
I'm sure I could think of something.
All right.
Greg, I love your dog. All right, man. I got to say that because I've been watching for the dog coming by. But no, Kevin and all the folks that are joining us and are joining the community and coming out of the veteran. Remember, the veteran community is stronger when we're together. We need to watch out for each other. I'm a big proponent of, check on your battle buddy, because it's not okay. It's okay to not be okay. So back each other up. It doesn't matter if you're, Marine, Air Force, or now our brothers in the Space Force, the Guardians,
Hold up,
hey
wait,
guys.
this Space Force. So as we're here now,
Shit,
we've
here he
got
goes. Here he
Marines,
goes.
We've got Air Force, we've got Army. We need a name for the Space Force. Is that the Galactic Republic? Like, what are we going to call them? Because
Well, they're called the Guardians. You know that, right? They're not
Guardians of the
soldiers.
Galaxy.
so the Guardians of the Galaxy? Is that what they
They're
are?
Guardians. They're Guardians. So Air Force is airmen, soldiers, Marines, and Guardians. I don't know if you knew that.
What about the Coast Guard? Are
They're
they
coasties. We don't.
Coasties.
I don't consider them. I don't really consider them. I might have some of my
No, they're
friends
cool.
like burn
Somebody's
me.
gonna shoot you for that.
They're
one.
cool.
You do realize they are law enforcement agency, right?
I love the Coast Guard. No, I got friends in the Coast Guard. I do, but it's one of those things. Look, I share stuff about Marines all the time. Anytime I see something with crayons, I always tag Marines in it. But no, it is. It's something we got to look out for each other, and we really do. And I truly hope that this show brought something about the differences that, people transitioning out can still find a career field, whether it's in cyber or not. It doesn't matter. And that's one of the things that I was hoping a lot more people would join and understand, that you don't have to get into cyber to transition out and find your path and find what you really want to do. Because ultimately it comes down to what you decide you want to do, and you can do your research. You can get in touch with any veteran, and they'll help you find your way. And that's one of the big things, is once you know your path and what you want to ultimately do. If you want to be a goddamn chef, look, man, I know I got a buddy right now that opened his own restaurant and is selling shit. I will get you in touch with him. He will tell you what to do, because he was with me at the Pentagon and is doing amazing things right now. And I love him to death. And so I can help you out. If you want to make music, I know people that are
Spanish
music
food?
producers.
Does he cook Spanish food? That's all I care, man.
I think mainly Italian. I'm sorry.
Okay, right.
But it's good Italian from what I can tell. I mean, it looks delicious from what he showed me. I haven't been there. He's in the Thai. I'll have to get you his restaurant name, because he's actually in the DMV area. My buddy Sherrard Purcell, he has his own restaurant down there. So
Yeah, send it to me.
yeah,
Maybe
I'll
I
get it
can,
to you. And then he gives shoes, like, I ain't gonna say he gives them away. He might give them away, but he's like a shoe fiend, and like gets like tons of shoes and gives them to people, like kids and adults and stuff, people that need shoes and stuff like that. Like, he's an amazing dude.
Okay. Yeah, maybe
So yeah,
I
I'll
can
hook
take
you
a
up
date
with him.
there or something.
But he has his own restaurant down there that he's doing. So yeah, it doesn't matter what you want to do. This community is huge, and small at the same time. You figure only 1% of Americans really join the military. Let's be honest. So, keep tight. Make sure you have those connections within the community and be able to reach out. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the VA. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to say, dude, I'm fucked up. Like, I need to talk to somebody. Because everybody knows, as a guy going through, whether you're growing up or going through the military, you're looked at as, you can't be wrong. You can't be not okay. And as we've said several times on this episode, it's okay to not be okay. Reach out, ask for help. All right? Ask for a shoulder to lean on. Ask for someone to vent to. It's all right. Saying that, look, guys, it's been amazing having you on the show. Kevin, Greg, I hope you learned something. I hope you got something out of this. If nothing else, the connections. If anybody doesn't know, Greg is Buddy No Love on Twitter. Wait, over here.
Follow me.
Buddy No Love, Ty Wilson 21, Balardo 73, and I made Kevin stand up on Twitter, so he's Kevin Biggs 215. All those connections are in the description below. All right, so go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on podcast, look, go ahead over, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Maybe let it play since you already listened to it, and mute the audio. I really don't care. The watch hours count for me. So also, all the ways you can support CyberWarriorStudios are down below in the description. That includes Cash App. That includes Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee, as well as a bunch of other things. Eventually, I'll get back to selling merchandise as soon as the store is set back up. But saying that, look, I loved you all. Next week, we have a brand new episode, new content. I don't know what the topic's going to be yet, but I will share that with you as soon as I figure it out. And I love you all. Take care and have a fantastic evening.